Hello. How are you? Good to be back with you guys again. How are you doing? I want to talk about questions today. Questioning questions, um, conspiracy theory type questions, potentially not just that, but that kind of thought. There's a lot happening in our world. There's a lot happening in our nation. There's a lot that's been going on for the last decade. Um, and I just want to talk about that kind of angle, I suppose. And just, questioning is good. Like questioning things and being a critical thinker, it's really good. And anybody that tells you not to do that is, they might be operating out of fear. It doesn't mean they're like corrupt. It could mean they are, but there could be fear there. I think, I'm a Christian. I my goal in life is to follow God and live my life for him. I believe he guides us. I believe like, our gut intuition is him leading and guiding us. Does it mean we're always right about things? No. We're human and we're learning how to follow him all the time. Even if we've been following him for 40 years or whatever, 20 years, 10 years, like we're still always learning, and God is always speaking new things because he's not a formula. So he wants us to stay fresh with him, and he wants us to be childlike. He never wants us to think like we've arrived. So certainly we can be wrong in our intuition, but it's important to follow your intuition. Um, it's important to not be afraid to be like the odd man out or the weirdo. It's okay. There's been many, many times that the masses have been wrong, and that the one weirdo ended up being the right person. So we need to be okay just being standing for our convictions. It doesn't mean we have to be rude or fight or even share everything that we believe with everyone, right? But sometimes there are those moments where we do need to take a stand and help, um, with truth, right? So I think of a scenario, wasn't even planning on talking about this, but my brother and I were homeschooled since like fifth grade, and we'd been homeschooled before that. Like when we started school to fifth grade, we had been private school, homeschool, and we'd gone to public school. We were in elementary school and public school for probably 3 years, I think. Um, but then when I was in fifth grade and my brother was in fourth grade, they started saying that my brother was having like still seizures in class, that he wasn't paying attention, like ADHD type stuff. Literally, my mom took off work to come and like observe my brother because they were saying he was having a still seizure, like whatever the heck that is, even. Um, so my mom comes, and we'd never seen anything like this out of him, like at home. So my mom comes and observes him, and like there's like nothing happening. Like he's bored. He's a young boy who probably shouldn't be sitting in a classroom for, 8 hours um in a day, right? And he was just bored out of his mind. And they wanted to put him on they had a meeting about him. They wanted to put him on drugs. They wanted to do all this stuff, and my mom was like, "Absolutely not." And she took us out of public school and she homeschooled us. And I am 39, so that was way before the whole, homeschool is much more, you know, cool nowadays, right? Post COVID. But this was well ahead of like her time with this. And I thank God that she did that, because my brother could have been medicated and all this stuff. And my brother is brilliant. He's brilliant. He's like an engineer. Like he does like metal fabrication. He didn't go to college. Like he's just like learned at different jobs, and he can literally take a flat piece of metal and with these CNC machines and like he's made just like so many things, and having to factor in like the bends and like all this stuff, like because when the metal bends it gets longer than when it was like, and just crazy, the stuff, literally it's like engineering. um and he's brilliant and he works with his hands, he makes stuff, he's constantly like, there's not a lazy bone in his body, and he just wasn't designed to just sit there. Like not everybody can do that, especially little boys. And it's just like, that's what society is like, you just have to fit into that box, and if you don't, then we're just going to like medicate you, and it's just blah. So, anyways, I thank God that my mom was okay saying no to these people. And my mom was like, my mom had us young, so I didn't even know at that point how old my mom was. She was probably like, she was in her 20s. And she was saying no to these people that were probably older than her. And she said, no, I feel like this is right. And she hadn't homeschooled anybody before. She worked full time. Like, how was she going to do this? And she figured it out. She figured it out for us, for my brother. And I thank God for that, you know? And there can be things like, my brother and I have talked, and there's some things we're like, oh, we wish we would have, done this or that. But overall, like that was the best thing, and your parents are doing the best that they know how to do. And so I just thank God she wasn't like, well, I don't have time to do this, and just left us in there. And who knows what would happen to my brother? Like, who knows what would happen to him if he would have just been like medicated. He's so creative and so brilliant. And so I just thank God that she questioned and that she was okay going a different direction than the masses. I just thank God for that. And that kind of thing has always, I'm not like a confrontational person. I don't like being the odd man out by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm okay with it. I One time I think I was like 19, 18, 19. I was 18 or 19. I was working at this call center, and we were helping people like consolidate their debt. And I called somebody, I'd been working there for a couple weeks, and I called somebody and they were like, I already hired you guys and you're not doing what you said you were going to do. And I was like, really? And he told me some more information, and I went in and talked to my manager at the time and just questioned him like, hey, what's up with this? And I did not like what he had to say. It I was like, this is not like on the up and up. And I ended up going, I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm like, I'm not working here another minute. I'm not working here another minute. And I went back in the room that I was in and shared with a couple people what happened. And literally like three of us quit that day. Like we just walked out immediately and quit. And I don't like, when it comes to things like that, I'm not worried about money. I'm worried about like pe people. I'm worried about my convictions. I'm worried about my character and like my conscience, you know? And I'm by no means perfect. I've made plenty of mistakes. I've done plenty of things wrong. But overall, like I don't have to like just go with the masses. Like I don't have to do that. And I think in this day and age we have to be critical thinkers for ourselves, for our children, and for the generations ahead of us. It's very, very important not to just, there were lots of things like when I was pregnant, there were lots of things they wanted me to do, and I said no to them. I had twins, and it was very, very different. They wanted me to schedule a C-section. Like they wanted me to schedule a C-section, and I did not want to. I said if it was a emergency, of course, like of course, like if in the times that that is an emergency, thank God for that. Like thank God for that procedure. But as just a precautionary convenience, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I literally had to tell my doctor every single time I came in there, this smart doctor surgeon guy, I had to tell him like no, which is not easy. They can shame you, make you feel like you're being irresponsible, and I just stood my ground, and I was like, I'm not going to like, if we get to the point where we need that, if there's some reason I need that, some emergent reason, okay, but I'm not just going to plan it. And I prayed and I did what I could. Like, not everything, things don't always go like perfectly according to plan. Um, but by the grace of God, I did not end up having a C-section. I ended up having the girls without a C-section, which is an absolute miracle. It's a miracle. Um, and it was crazy. I ended up Kindle was breech. They don't do breech. If you're They do not deliver hardly ever breech babies anymore. You have a C-section. You have a breech baby, you have a C-section. You have twins, you have a C-section, you have a breech baby with the twins, you definitely have a C-section. So I had twins, one breech without a C-section, which is like literally if you like look into it and do any kind of research, it is a miracle. It's a complete miracle. Um and my doctor ended up not being we were praying he was going to be on call. I drove like an hour to go to him because he would like turn the breech baby. He would like turn the baby before you had the baby and deliver, not breech. But if he couldn't do that, then he would do a C-section. So, but what ended up happening was he was already on call and he ended up he had to go. Like he couldn't work any longer. Like his work time allotment was up by the time I was going to have the girls, so he had to leave. And then the doctors that were on call after him, there were these two old school doctors, and they couldn't turn Kindle in time, and they delivered her breech, and they were like, "We're gonna deliver a breech," and they just did it, like, because they were trained. Like um, the younger OBs are not trained to deliver breech. They're and you have to keep in mind too, they're surgeons. Like they're surgeons. And they're trained to just do regular delivery, and then if it's breech, it's a C-section, pretty much. Not 100% of places, but that's pretty much where it's moved. Like they're not even trained to do it. There's people working to like retrain people to do breech deliveries. Um, thank God, because when C-sections are needed, thank God for them. It's great, but they're way too overdone. Like they're way too overdone, and it's a massive abdominal surgery, and it makes it the recovery very difficult on a new mom who's trying to take care of her baby. You can't even like get up and go to the bathroom by yourself. So it's very difficult to take care of a newborn when you're doing that. Um, so anyways, I just like that. Like I pushed against the cultural norm of, oh, my doctor's just telling me to do this, so I'm gonna do it. Other things too. There was many things they wanted me to do during my pregnancy, and I said, no, that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't sound good to me and like, why am I doing this? And I didn't do it. And you have that right. Like you have the right to question. And if people are telling you like not to ever question, and I'm not like I wasn't rude to him. I just like stood my ground. I'm not obnoxious and like, you know, I'm just not like that. I like to be nice and I like to get along. I like peace, but I'm not going to just be mowed over by somebody that's smarter than me and has degrees if I don't feel right with something. I'm just not going to, I like to go as much as possible with the course of nature. Like, how did God design this to happen? When you're able to, like, when you're not, like, I thank God for scientific advancement and stuff like that. But sometimes we've gone too far and we think we're God, and what we're actually doing is causing harm, which is with doctors, their first thing is like cause no harm, which a lot of the things they do are causing harm, like a lot of harm. Um, so anyways, I like to get on tangents and rant a little bit, but I'm talking about questioning and standing up where you're like, wait a minute, no, I don't think I want to do that. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Um, and educating ourselves where we feel like we're not sure, but we're like, wait a minute, and educating ourselves in doing, things that are against the grain. We're seeing new like vaccine research and Tylenol stuff, and people were like, so many people would be like, oh, well, that's everything's fine, it's fine, it's fine, and it's not fine. And thank God for the people for years and years and years and years and years that were questioning, being dragged through the mud, being called conspiracy theorists, being just treated terrible, Um, and oftentimes there was money to do that, right? There was actually like they were smearing people and doing it intentionally. Like there was campaigns to do it. So it wasn't just like organic. It wasn't just like an organic thing. But thank God for the people that were willing to stand up and be like, no, something happened to my kid. Like something happened to my kid, and I want to spare another parent. Does it happen to every child? No. But something happened, and thank God for these people that stood up and then were ridiculed, but had the backbone enough and the duty to humanity and the character to stand up and be like, I don't care. Like I will lay down my own life and my own comfort to save somebody else, to spare somebody else down the line, the heartache and the suffering that I went through. I will do that for somebody else, right? You're sacrificing your own comforts and stuff for somebody else. And thank God for those people, because there's breakthrough coming and truth coming out now that there's some of these things are dangerous at certain windows, or at all. You know, like mercury. Hello, mercury. It's like very toxic, very toxic. Like you can't have any of it. And the studies that have been done with it are like in your, like, taking it like orally, but we can inject it into an infant. I mean, you really don't need a lot of like, I mean, you just need like a drop of common sense. You just need like a drop of common sense to be like, okay, wait a minute. This is probably not good. But it's taken years and years and years, and we're still, just on the brink of things being like opened up. But questioning things that don't add up, questioning things that don't make sense. And it doesn't, you don't want to let it consume you. You don't want to let it consume you. I saw something, the whole spark to this conversation we're having today. So I saw this post, and it was somebody basically saying like, don't be all involved in like questioning, like, you need to pray and read your Bible. And that's great. We do. We do. I mean, my Bible's right here. I have a journal. I get up every morning practically, and I journal and read my Bible. And like, I love that. It's the best. But you can also question things. Like you can pray and read your Bible and question things, but you don't want to let it steal your peace, right? Like if it's just something that's completely consuming you and you don't have any hope, and it's making you, you know, then maybe you need to like scale back, or maybe you need to like make sure you're being like filled, make sure you're not just putting out or worrying all the time. But you can do that and be a pioneer and be a reformer. Like you don't, just because you're a well-rounded Christian doesn't mean you don't question things, and you don't um push back against corruption or things that just don't add up. So it's okay. You can be a fully dedicated Christian and question things. Like you 100% can. And I thank God for people that do, because very often the masses are wrong, and when there's money and things involved, there is generally always some corruption. And the questioning and free speech is what allows us to find the truth and allows things to be exposed. And God is exposing a lot in this nation. And for those of us that see things, we need to speak up. We can do it in love. We don't have to be divisive. We don't have to like, I don't agree with everything my pastor, teaches. I don't agree with everything he teaches. But overall, it's a kingdom place. It's a place of encouragement. It's a place where they speak truth. It's a place where you can go and get freedom. Like I don't have to agree with everything he says. I'm not like, I don't have such a critical spirit where I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like, and there's a couple things that are rather large, but they're not like salvational things. There are things I'm passionate about, but it's not as I've gotten older in my relationship with the Lord, it's not all about being right. Like, it's not all about, like, it's about connection, but we also need to push for truth. So finding that like happy medium is an interesting thing to do. It definitely is an interesting thing to do. And we all are called to different things. There are people that are called to more reform and being more kind of, brash with things. And thank God for that. There's people that are more just relational and like, okay, let's everybody, come on in. And we're all called to do different things. And we need to realize that and see that. Um, but it's not all rainbows and butterflies. It's not all like kumbaya. Like Jesus said, I didn't come to bring peace, I came to bring a sword. And he said the kingdom of God suffers violence and the violent take it by force. He flipped tables, he made whips, he did, okay, it's not just like sitting around the campfire Jesus. Like um there are things that God's not happy about. And it's okay to stand for righteousness. It's okay to be like, no, it's okay. I and I am not I don't like to just cause trouble just to cause trouble. I don't like to cause division. That is not my personality at all, okay? I want to err on the side of connection. I want to err on the side of connection, and I don't want to just to offend because just because I want to throw my opinion out there. Like I don't. Most of the things that I believe in and praying about right now, I'm not even like super public about it unless like, I do life with somebody. Um but we need to be okay questioning things, and we need to be okay standing for truth. And when God really calls you to something, I thank God for people that are willing to put their neck on the line to endure criticism and ridicule and being canceled. I thank God for these people. And we all need a little bit more of that in us. We really do. We all need a little bit more of that in us, where we fear God and not man. There's a verse, I wish I just thought of it, but it says, how can you have faith, you who fear man and not God? So like when we fear man and not God, we literally can't have faith. We cannot be operating in faith when we're operating in the fear of man. So thank you, Jesus, for the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord sweeping through this nation, sweeping through the government, sweeping through our leadership. There's so much corruption in our government on both sides. Oh my gosh, on both sides, there's so much corruption. Jesus, take the wheel. Jesus, take the wheel. I just bless you. But I feel like we need to be okay questioning. And if you have some, in this day and age, if you don't have some conspiracy theories, I don't know how you don't. But don't be gaslit into not being able to question something. Don't let somebody like make you think it's emotional manipulation to gaslight somebody into thinking like, wait a minute, you're crazy. Like, no, we live in a corrupt, we live in a fallen world where there's corruption. Okay. And when there's money involved and power involved, there's pretty much always corruption. So we need light bearers, truth tellers to hold people to the fire, to have the truth revealed, because the truth sets us free. In the name of the Lord. Okay. Bless you guys. I'll see you next week.